Yay, it's Tuesday. And it is the last letter in the Hebrew alphabet. Today, we have had, 23 weeks of Hebrew alphabet teachings. And some of you have had to go back and watch all of them from the beginning again. And it's been just such an exciting journey. And I hope if it has just stirred in you a desire to learn a little bit more about the Hebrew, to learn a little bit more about our Jewish roots, to just see that there are hidden mysteries and hidden depths in scripture that are revealed in the Hebrew alphabet, then my work here is done. So I hope that you've enjoyed it thus far. And we get to the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and that is Tav. And Tav is an incredible letter, and yet there isn't a lot out there about it. I really researched Tav quite a bit. But, put it this way. So possibly because most of the information on the Hebrew alphabet is from the Jewish people, and not all of them have had a revelation of the Messiah. So the interpretation of Tav is actually very much a messianic interpretation. So I suppose that's probably why there's less out there about it. But Tav is the 22nd letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So yes, you are right. There are 22 letters in the Hebrew alphabet, and it is the very last one. And the pictograph is crossed sticks. Yes, you are right again, a cross. But the actual pictograph, what it's called in pictures when you look it up, there's just crossed sticks. It's only in the more messianic kind of research that they call it a cross, but it actually is a cross. But it was sticks crossed, which is a cross. And so the meaning that is derived from that is a cross, as we all know, but also mark, sign, signature, signal, monument, seal. So all of those meanings come out of this pictograph of these crossed sticks, of this cross. And obviously for us as believers, as Jesus followers, as lovers of the Jewish Messiah, of Jesus, all of those things mean a lot to us. And so phonetically, it's a T, it's a T, as in tail, and numerically, it is 400. So the numeric value attached to Tav is 400, and 400 means full dominion or divinely perfect period. So we've started off with Aleph, which was the first letter in the Hebrew alphabet, from the right to the left. Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, which was the letter 1, which is the beginning. And we have ended up with Tav, the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet, with the numeric value of 400, which means full dominion, divinely perfect period. So the way that the Hebrew alphabet has worked its way through, and all the stories that are encapsulated within it, as well as the story just of the alphabet from Aleph to Tav, is a divinely perfect period and speaks of the full dominion. Now, in the Talmud, the Jewish scribes state that the letter Tav represents the Hebrew word for truth, which is emet. So the Hebrew word for truth is emet, and it is represented by the letter Tav. Now, I'm sure if you're following along here closely, you will get that the letter Tav is the last letter in the Hebrew word emet, and every Hebrew word that we have spoken about up until this letter in the Hebrew alphabet, they are represented by the first letter. And so the scribes say that the reason why the letter Tav is representative of the Hebrew word emet, which is the word for truth, is because truth is a journey of revelation. So it is not something that you know right at the beginning. It is actually something that you journey through to get the revelation of. And again, what does Jesus say? But he is the way, the truth, and the life. So the fact that Tav represents truth is just another picture of Jesus. So the cross shows us Jesus, and the fact that it represents truth shows us Jesus as well. Now, you might have, I'm sure you've watched the Aleph, which was the beginning, the very first one that we did. Well, we had an intro and then we did Aleph. And if you haven't, please, even if you don't have time to watch all of them, at least go back and watch Aleph, because it's very important to get the understanding of what Jesus says when he says, I am the Aleph and the Tav. Because when he says in the Bible, I am the beginning and the end, or they're translated in Revelation as I am the Alpha and the Omega. Actually, in Hebrew, he said, I am the Aleph and the Tav. I am the beginning, the first letter of the alphabet, and I'm the ending, the last letter of the alphabet. And the the things that come out of this is, so one of the meanings of Tav, one of the representations of Tav is mark. And because the Jewish scribes say that when God told, the Jewish people to make a mark so that he would know, the mark was always in the shape of a cross. So mark is one of the meanings of Tav. And if you think about it, and you actually think about sin, you know that the Hebrew word, there's a Hebrew word for sin and a Greek word for sin, actually. And both of them, if you go and look in the concordance, both of them come back to a meaning of to miss the mark, where when you sin, you actually miss the mark. So God has you're aiming for, something, and you just miss the mark when you sin. And I just find it so incredible that Tav means mark and it means cross. So it doesn't matter whether you've missed the mark. The fact that the cross is represented within the mark means that Jesus takes that away anyway. That he died on the cross to save each and every one of us from all the times where we've missed the mark in sin. And what better way to gain revelation of how we've missed the mark in sin than by the representation of the truth that is Jesus. So all of that is encapsulated in this one letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And if you just look at Aleph, which is the first letter, and Tav is the last letter, and you look at what Aleph represents. So if you remember correctly, you can go back and have another listen. The pictograph for Aleph is an ox head, and that was represented, it represented strength and leadership and going ahead, the oxen pulling the plow, going ahead. And so people, there've been various people who have written things about how if you look at, the ox that starts the Hebrew alphabet, and the fact that Tav means mark, the oxen are moving forward through the alphabet to reach the mark that is ultimately Tav. And then again, from a messianic perspective, ultimately Jesus. And then you look at when you look at the meaning of Aleph and you look at the meaning of Tav, you look at what Jesus was saying when he said he is the Aleph and the Tav. So he says that he is the beginning and the end, that he is the Alpha and the Omega, but then he says he is the Aleph and the Tav. So he is the first and the last. He is the strength and the truth. He is the authority and the sign. He is the power and the seal. He is God's signature. So right from Aleph all the way through the Hebrew alphabet to Tav, Jesus is represented in every single instance. And the journey that you start with Aleph just leads you to Jesus. It leads you straight to the cross. It leads you straight to the Messiah. And it's a Messiah that the Jewish people are still waiting for. But it's actually a Messiah that was revealed in the Hebrew alphabet years in ancient biblical times, before anyone had even concept of the fact that one day the Son of God would die on the cross. But right from the beginning, that was written in ancient Hebrew through the words of the Hebrew alphabet, that there was always going to be a cross at the end. There was always going to be a sacrifice. And God had already planned that before he even laid the foundations of the earth, because he knew that that is ultimately where we would land up. So Tav is an incredible letter. It's represented so simplistically with just those two crossed sticks. But we all know what those crossed sticks symbolize. And we all know that those crossed sticks are our very reason for living, our very reason for being, our very reason for doing what we do. And it all comes back to Jesus. It all comes back to Yeshua. It all comes back to this incredible, enormous gift of the Jewish Messiah that we have all received. So I would encourage you to just keep on learning about the revelation of the Hebrew alphabet. And I would encourage you also to, in your prayers, just add in a prayer for the Jewish people. Add in a prayer that the Jewish people will encounter the Messiah that they've been waiting so long for, that they will actually see him for who he is, and that they will recognize that he's been there all along in their very own alphabet. Pray for the peace of Israel. Pray for those things that are on God's heart. And we know that the Jewish people in Israel very close to God's heart. And us who has the revelation of the Messiah, who have the revelation of the cross, have the authority and the responsibility to pray for the things that are close to God's heart. So I really trust that this journey has blessed you, that you have learned things, that you have discovered things, that God has revealed things to you, and that this would not be the end of your journey with Hebrew. But you will go on and look into more of it. And who knows, maybe I'll do a more in-depth series or course on the Hebrew alphabet. It would have to be very in-depth as I think about it. I feel slightly overwhelmed by the task. But definitely if God is in it, then he'll deal with all of that. But the journey from Aleph to Tav has been incredible. And just knowing that my Messiah, your Messiah, is the Aleph and the Tav, allows us to be in a position of resting, knowing that he has everything in hand. And we can have hope and faith and trust in the future. And as long as we are hearing truth, and as long as we are recognizing truth, we don't have to worry about missing the mark, because he has taken care of that for us. So bless you all. Please let me know what you've thought. Let me know how you felt about all of this. Let me know anything that God has showed you, or any exciting revelations that he has given you through all of this. And then, as I said last time, all of these episodes will be on my website. So if you want to go back and watch them all one after the other, so that you get the full picture in one go, then feel free to do that and have a look under my blog posts, and you can see the write-ups on each letter. But let us all today just be so thankful and so grateful and so overwhelmed by the abundance of the love of God, that at the end of it all, he gave us the Tav, he gave us the cross, and that reconciled us to him for all eternity. So thank you all so much. Thank you for being such an enthusiastic audience for this particular limited series. And bless you all, love you all, and I'll see you on Thursday. Lots of love. Bye.